Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Price Check, a sports podcast here on the In the Zone Network, where we go city to city, state to state, worldwide. March Madness at the most madness we've had here in quite a long time, both in the world of the NBA as well as college basketball. Just got to dive right in, man. It's going to be all basketball on this show. So, of course, anybody that's looking for NFL draft talk or any remaining NFL free agency talk, we'll save it for another show. All basketball on this one. We got a couple NBA playoff races to highlight here at the top, and then of course we'll dive into some of the storylines remaining on both Sweet 16s remaining here in the men's and women's college basketball tournament. So NBA action to recap from last night, recording this here on the morning of Wednesday, March 27th, has some major implications for the NBA playoff race here, technically in both conferences, but primarily in the Western Conference. 4 games on last night's slate, all involving teams that really needed wins. And so, first, got to talk about the Lakers' crazy comeback from 19 down against the Milwaukee Bucks without LeBron James. They get that win 128-124. You had crazy performances. Austin Reeves going for a 29-point triple-double. D'Angelo Russell, 29 points and 12 assists. Anthony Davis, 34 points and 23 rebounds. My goodness. And Giannis had a crazy performance. He also had a 29-point triple-double on the other side for the Bucks. But massive win for the Lakers, not only to kind of solidify their hold on that 9 seed in the Western Conference right now, which would be a home play-in game for them, but also still keeping them within striking distance of the 8 and 7 seeds, which now belong to a tie of the Phoenix Suns and Sacramento Kings. Kings we'll get to here in just a second. But a major win for them, especially given that they didn't have LeBron. They have another game tonight here in Memphis against the Grizzlies that they definitely need to win as well. But winners of 4 of their last 5, kind of trending in the right direction right now. Definitely don't want to get too excited again because you look up, you win the 7 or 8 seed, you still got to deal with a Denver Nuggets or Oklahoma City Thunder team, which is definitely not the matchup you love, but definitely trending in the right direction for the Lakers, a game that they absolutely needed last night. Big win for the Thunder, also, we just mentioned. They went to New Orleans, got a road win against the Pelicans, 119-112. Big win for them because that keeps them within a half game of the Denver Nuggets for that number 1 seed. Pelicans, on the other end, sliding back just a little bit. Now a half game behind the Los Angeles Clippers for the 4 seed. But if you, like me, have watched the Clippers lately, that team is definitely trending in the absolute wrong direction. So not surprised if New Orleans gets themselves back into that 4 seed spot. But as of right now, half game behind the Clippers with that loss last night. Now the biggest game and kind of the one with the most playoff implications from last night had the Mavericks and Kings in Sacramento. 2 teams that came into the night tied record-wise. Mavericks get a major win, 132-96. Luka and Kyrie absolutely cooking. Luka had 28 points, I believe 11 rebounds in that game. Kyrie Irving, 24 points, 8 assists, just playing off of each other. Real reminiscent of the LeBron Kyrie days early with the Cavs, but both of those guys just elite scorers, elite playmakers. They showed it all last night against the Kings. Kings just didn't have an answer. They didn't have it offensively at all. And the result of that, now have the Dallas Mavericks into the 6th seed, which of course keeps them clear of the play-in. The playoffs started today would have the Minnesota Timberwolves as their first round matchup, and a matchup that I would not love to see if I was Minnesota. The Kings, on the other hand, we mentioned they are now tied for the 7th, 8th seed with the Phoenix Suns. And those 2 teams are only 2 games up on the Lakers to hold that spot. Now, the Kings and Mavericks will play again here on Friday night. So, of course, that one is going to be a real, telltale sign of what's going to be coming seeding-wise in the Western Conference. But if you're the Kings, you do not want to be in that play-in mix with, the likes of Kevin Durant, Devin Booker in a 7-8 matchup, or potentially losing that game and then have to play LeBron James and Anthony Davis in the Lakers team here to save your playoff spot. So definitely some major implications in how that result turned out. Now, the Friday game, of course, if Dallas wins that one, you're talking about scary territory for the Kings and really kind of being stuck. in that play-in group. And Dallas, man, they're looking like the one team in the Western Conference right now that nobody really wants to see come playoff time. When you got Kyrie and you got Luka playing at the level that they're playing at right now, that's not, those guys are built for the playoffs. They've shown it in previous years that they can do it and get it done at the highest level in the playoffs. Now, Luka, of course, you can say he's never played in the finals or the one conference finals appearance. That team got smoked. He individually has still put up crazy individual numbers when playoff time comes. So excited to see what they can do seating wise, because they also still aren't out of the range of potentially even creeping up into like a 4 or 5 seed when it's all said and done. So definitely got my eye on the Dallas Mavericks. And then of course here to round out the NBA action from last night, Warriors and Heat. Warriors get a big win by 21 in Miami. Of course, no Jimmy Butler last night, but the Warriors do get that win. They get to keep themselves a game up on the Houston Rockets, which Rockets are the hottest team in basketball right now, trying to creep up into that play-in mix as well. Golden State had been slipping for the last few games. They're able to overcome some of those recent struggles and get a much needed win because they do actually still have another game remaining against Houston as well. So we'll see how that race turns out, but it's very 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 possible right now that you could be looking at not only an NBA playoffs but an NBA play-in tournament that does not have Steph Curry and the Warriors involved in it. So keeping my eye on the bottom of that play-in race as well. But got some key matchups that will continue to play out here over the course of the rest of the NBA's regular season. We're right at the home stretch now where everybody's kind of in that, 9, 10, 11 games left range. And everybody that is in that playoff mode is jockeying for position right now to make sure that they're put in the best seeding possible to be able to make a championship run. So, speaking of championship runs, we are in the home stretch now of the men's and women's NCAA basketball tournaments. Both Sweet 16s are now set. Start with the men's side because I think this is a much simpler side to evaluate at this point. The men's tournament just looks like it's UConn's tournament to lose. They are very clearly the best team in the tournament. They've had the most flawless showings here that you could probably have in the round of 64 and round of 32. They'll be getting matched up here with San Diego State this weekend, and then from there, looking to stamp their trip to the Final Four for back-to-back years and potentially defend their national championship this year, depending on who they may face out of the rest of the bracket here. But that game, obviously talking about UConn, that's kind of a moot point at this point. We know what they're capable of. The one matchup that I'm kind of waiting to see if we can actually get it here come the Elite Eight, North Carolina versus Arizona. Reason for that, you have Caleb Love, of course, playing for Arizona, transferred out of North Carolina, and is one of few players that actually has the potential to play for a national championship for 2 different schools. And he, of course, the storyline would need to be that he has to beat North Carolina to get to that Final Four with his second school. And Arizona has been playing lights out. Now, granted, Carolina has been hot as well, but I do think that Arizona can make that matchup really, really tough on North Carolina. And of course, Caleb is going to come with a little bit extra fire for that matchup if and when it does happen. So that is the one kind of matchup I'm hoping for there on the men's side of the bracket. Now, when you talk about the women's NCAA bracket, round of 32, we saw some amazing games, some amazing performances. Talk about Juju Watkins out of USC had 28 points in their game the other night. Caitlin Clark, absolutely, masterful against West Virginia, getting their team in Iowa to the Sweet 16 again. You also had Paige Buckers go off for UConn the other night, getting them back to the Sweet 16. And so now you're starting to see some of those matchups that we've been hoping for take shape a little bit here coming up this weekend. Now, of course, if I had to, pull some strings and make some predictions or even just get the ideal Elite Eight coming out of this weekend Sweet 16 for the women, South Carolina versus Notre Dame is looming. Of course, undefeated South Carolina on, trying to redeem themselves from not being able to win the championship last year after an undefeated regular season. You would have them potentially matching up with Hannah Hidalgo and that Notre Dame team that's been tough on everybody all season long. You would then also be looking at a possible Texas versus Stanford Elite Eight matchup. Madison Booker, Cameron Brink, two elite players. Definitely would love to see that. And then we're looking at potentially Iowa versus LSU, a title game rematch from last year happening in the Elite Eight. And then two other stars that we mentioned, Paige Buckers versus Juju Watkins, UConn versus USC as a potential matchup in the Elite Eight as well. Now, we know this is March. We know that tournament time presents all of its different surprises. Somebody's going to blow this up. Somebody's going to blow this up. We don't know who it's going to be, but it's not going to go completely as planned or completely as ideal as we may see it. So, who is that team going to be? Got to find out this weekend. But that would be the ideal scenario for me for the women's side of the bracket. If we could get that Elite Eight, I think those are all just blockbuster matchups across the board. Would love to see it happen. This March Madness tournament on both sides again has been great. And I think we're in for a real good treat here as we wind down to the Elite Eight and Final Four here this weekend. So, until next time, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap it up for us here on the Price Check today. A lot of basketball to keep watching going into the weekend. A lot of basketball to, I guess, bet on. Of course, don't end up like John Tate Porter. But want to make sure we keep tuning in and keep scratching the surface on what is going to be a great conclusion to an already great NCAA basketball season. And, of course, a great conclusion to an NBA regular season winding up to the playoffs. So, again, until next time, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Josh Price. Checking out.